You are, you're all set.
So I'd like to welcome everybody, Chief Smith, Kenny, Sal, fellow councilors LeBlanc and McCarthy, John Dunn, and I see Carol Mondello is on with us as well as and Emily Sinagra. Thank you all very much. And our clerk of committees, Sherry Caravalis. So welcome all. So the first item on our agenda this evening, just going by the agenda, we've had one item be pulled off and continued to our next meeting that relates to the Harbor Master's new boat. So the first item would be a memorandum from our CFO regarding a supplemental appropriation budgetary request 202 SA4 in the amount of $120,000. John, take it away.
Hey, Scott, we gotta read the governor's thing first.
Oh, you want to read that stuff? I guess. Thank you, John.
Worries.
Takes a team. Consistent with chapter 20 in the Acts of 2021, this meeting will be conducted by remote participation. The public may not physically attend the meeting, but every effort will be made to allow the public to view and listen to the meeting in real time and to participate when necessary. Persons who wish to do so are invited to view the meeting and the websites, the links are published on our site. Anything else I need to say, John?
You're good.
Okay, then moving back to John Dunn on our first appropriation tonight.
John, you're on mute.
Mute. I just figured that out. Yes, thank you. This is a appropriation within the Capital Project Stabilization Fund for $120,000 for the purchase of 2 vehicles for use within the fire department. I will defer to Eric Smith in terms of just explaining what the vehicles are and what the need is.
Sure, thanks, John. So good evening, council. The 2 vehicles in question are, we have an older pickup truck that's a 2004 that is well at its end of life and has served us pretty well, but it's literally rotted to the point where the cab is crushed down and not worth the investment to correct it. We have a similar rust issue and out of service issue with the reserve administrative vehicle, which also works as our backup command vehicle. When that vehicle's down, it's similarly equipped, so it can just step up front line and serve the needs of the department as far as a command vehicle goes. So both are at end of life. That vehicle, car 6, as we have labeled it, is a 2009. So our usual rotation is about anywhere around 10 years for the admin cars, about 15 on the utility pickup. So they've definitely hit the capital needs level, and they've met and exceeded that life expectancy, and so this is to hopefully replace them sooner rather than later. But as all of you, I'm sure, are aware, the market is a bit crazy and delivery is a bit crazy. And unfortunately, we're already behind on getting this funding in place, and the market and manufacturing aren't helping us resolve our issues. So there's some unfortunate investment into these old vehicles that I really didn't want to make, but it is what it is. So these 2 vehicles will serve us for a long time and serve us well, just like the ones that are leaving the fleet have done.
Are there any questions for Chief Smith?
Just for John Dunn. John, can you explain just very briefly why we're taking this out of a stabilization fund as opposed to coming out of the or having it budgeted in the fire department's budget?
Sure. So we have 3 stabilization funds. Actually, we have 4, but we have 3 main stabilization funds at this point. A general, a building maintenance and improvement fund, as well as the capital project. And generally, the way we approach this is, if the purchase is funding something that has an asset life of 10 or more years, then we're going to charge it probably to the capital project stabilization fund. If it's less than 10, if it's 7.5 to 10, we may do that, may go that way. But if it's less than 7.5, we're probably going to try and insert it within the operating budget. We do this with police patrol cars, for example. They really have a real life of 3 years. They may keep putting around for a couple of years thereafter, but the real life is 3 years. So we're certainly not going to want to put this through a capital project stabilization fund. We'll deal with it within the operating budget. But in this case, as Eric has mentioned, these are pretty long-lived vehicles, which will stay useful to the fire department for a minimum of 10 years. So this is the appropriate approach.
Perfect. Thank you, John.
Councilor LeBlanc? Any
I'm good,
question?
Nope, I'm good, thank you.
I would just ask both Eric and John if purchases like this are eligible from time to time for grants or other state or federal assistance rather than paying from it directly from our budget.
Yeah, they are, and we have put in for federal funds through the one that's most accessible and simple for us that we've been successful. So the most recent rescue that we purchased, I don't know, Kenny, what was that, 2 years ago, somewhere in there, was an award from the federal government for 250 or 350,000 for that truck, and so they kind of pick and choose of what's their items du jour, if you will, and what's on their kind of high priority list. And right now, things like service vehicles, pickup trucks, command vehicles are not on the list, and ours are frankly not old enough. There's some departments that have a lot older vehicles that are housed inside all the time. They don't really do much with them. That's just, they rank and score better than what we would. So we've got one engine in particular that's pretty old, but our overall fleet age takes us out of the running for the federal piece, because you're looking at competition with volunteer and call departments, not full-time departments that they have some vehicles around a long time because they just don't get much use, and they end up literally rotting away sitting in a garage for 30 years. So FEMA kind of leans towards replacing those and helping those smaller communities, and we're kind of on the bubble. So we've gotten it once, and that's, we kind of like, it was kind of like the lightning strike. We got pretty lucky with that one, honestly. And talking to our FEMA reps, we're just in a bad spot for us to qualify. We're just a little too big, a little too full-time to really get those things that they're trying to serve the entire country's, firefighting service.
Well, Eric, you are taking a look at a grant or some other type of support for a forestry vehicle. Is that
We
right?
are. Yeah, we are. So in the next round that's going to be coming up for fiscal 21, when we apply, we do have one of our forestry vehicles that's pretty aged. And that one, according to our rep, is pretty high likelihood of getting replaced. And forestry vehicles are almost absolutely going to be on the hit parade, if you will, for FEMA, given what we're seeing across the country right now with forest fires. So, issues that come up and are timely and going on with the real world, they try to align their priorities with that. So I'm hoping that we do all right with that. We'll see how it goes. I mean, we're not out west. We don't have the same wildfire situation, so they do balance that out. It is a very competitive program, and it's competitive, coast to coast. So we'll see how it does. We're definitely worth putting in, though.
And I just need to ask also, Chief Smith, is there any resale market for the vehicles being disposed of?
Actually, they'll be very.
What's their future?
Yeah, so both of them, so those two vehicles will both get traded in to get whatever value we can. They actually, because we're buying new from the dealer, they're as generous as they can. The market value on them is almost nil, because both of them are on the black tag list when it comes to inspections because of the extensive rust. They're really one of those things that the state's going to tell us they got to come off the road and stay off the road unless you do extensive work. So the easiest, simplest, most economic thing for the city is to just take them on the trade and get what we get and not continue to invest in these rotted vehicles.
Any other questions?
Counselor,
Yes.
to your question, if, if they don't go in on trade, there is a mechanism for offering them for sale, as is, where is, through the purchasing department. So, if there's no trade-in value to them at all, then there's, maybe a situation where somebody will pay $500 and is gonna, basically use it in their woods or on their farmland and never put it on the road.
Any other questions?
Chief, just one quick question. You came before us in February. You were putting in for a grant for your engines. You weren't too optimistic that you'd get through the first round, but you thought maybe it might be putting you in a good place for subsequent rounds. Anything on that?
Yeah, so so talking to our rep, so we just got the award here a couple days ago for the equipment side of that same grant cycle. So you can put in for vehicles and equipment under the same grant cycle at the same time. So we do that routinely every year, and we went fishing again for at least one, if not two pumpers to replace two that really need to go. And unfortunately, he gave us the news that, hey, you're barely squeaking through the first round of evaluations, and you're not going to score well enough to get an award on the trucks, on the pumpers. He goes, but and that was the good news a couple of weeks back, and it'll be coming through to you guys here directly in the mayor's report if it didn't already. But we did get award for the equipment, so there's about I think it's 102,000 award that'll be coming through for more of the Lucas compression devices, as well as escape ropes that we need to replace because ours are all out of date. So they have awarded that, but again, we're kind of in that bad spot to where sometimes we'll strike gold and other times the competition is so stiff we just don't. So
Okay, thanks for the
Very good.
update.
sure.
Thank you. If there are no other questions or discussion, I'll make a motion to approve this request.
Second,
And I'll read the motion. Budget and Finance, on a motion by Councilor Memhard, seconded by Councilor McCarthy. Budget and Finance votes to recommend that the City Council approve supplemental appropriation 2022 SA4 in the amount of $120,000 from the Capital Projects Stabilization Fund undesignated fund balance, account 7600359000, to the Capital Project Stabilization Fund Fire Vehicles account as noted, to fund the cost of a command vehicle, a departmental pickup truck, and including costs incidental or related thereto. And I so move.
second,
And roll call vote, Councilor McCarthy,
yes.
Councilor LeBlanc,
Yes.
Councilor Memhard, yes. The vote passes unanimously 3-0.
Outstanding.
Thank you.
I greatly appreciate it. And just as a final note, I think with this last award, the department is up to about $2.5 million in federal and state awards for grants. So we're doing pretty good. We're doing what we can to bring it in as best we can. And I think our EMS revenue is doing pretty well as well. Like hopefully Kenny's getting the good news on that end. If it seems to have stabilized and leveled out after kind of the COVID drop in call volume and how the payment cycle was going. But I think we're good.
Thank you, Chief. Well done.
All right. Thanks. Have a great night.
You too. So the item, as I mentioned, for the Harbor Masters boat has been continued till our next meeting in 2 weeks. And then the next item here I have is a memorandum from Sal DiStefano, Economic Development Director, regarding acceptance of Gloucester's Essex National Heritage Commission grant for the Stage Fort Park Welcoming Center in the amount of $2,500. And Sal, you're on. Welcome.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good evening, members of the council and friends. I'm here today to seek your permission for acceptance of a $2,500 grant from the Essex National Heritage Commission to benefit our wonderful welcoming center at Stage Fort Park. I'm joined today by Carol Mondello, who is our director. She's very talented, great at her job. She's done a fantastic job, and in a few minutes, if it's okay with the council, I would like her to just discuss what she'll use the funds for, as well as some highlights on what's going on the center. There's many dedicated volunteers under her direction that keep it going. It's also an economic development engine, as they oftentimes are some of the first people to meet that folks meet from out of town or out of state or internationally. And they ask questions, where to eat, where to shop, what to see in Gloucester. So they do a fantastic job. But as I mentioned, there's no match required for this grant. We're lucky to have received it the past several years. There's a lot of reporting behind the scenes that Carol does with help from Kenny and his staff. Amit has been fantastic in providing those. So there's definitely reporting that goes on, but we're thankful for the grant. And if it's okay with the council, I'd like for Carol to say a few words right now.
Please do. Absolutely. Welcome, Carol.
Thanks for having me. It's, quite a show to follow, 120,000, my 2,500. But I do stretch it. I make it go pretty far. So last year's, typically they ask us to use it for printing materials. And then we add sort of the Essex Heritage logo to show that they have supported us in that. So this past year, they said, kind of use it as you wish, because obviously last year was a little different. So they said, go ahead and use it. We ended up reprinting our very, very popular lighthouse-shaped lighthouse brochure. Everyone loves it. It's great. And that was a huge help, because we're going through a lot of them this year. And then we also did new maps for the walls, which are waiting patiently for off-season to be installed. It's not really good to have DPW in there ripping things apart while we're trying to welcome people. Before the call, I just wanted to check, and see where our numbers were. Last month, we had 2,100 people come through. It's about 800 short of 2019. So I'm pretty happy with that, especially with no international visitors. So it's pretty strong. 1,950 the month before. We've had a lot of people from Utah, a lot of people from Ohio, Arizona, kind of all over the place. And the trend is that they're staying longer, which we love. A lot of it was, I'm just driving through, I'm just passing through. Now it's, I'm staying 2 or more nights, which is amazing. Or I'm staying the whole day. That whole day, really, you can get so much from them. And my volunteers, we have 23 volunteers, and they're really there to kind of make them or help them get the best out of their day, sending them downtown, getting them out of their cars, walking around, spending money, eating. It's been the summer of meandering is what I've been saying. People have just been kind of walking in and like, what am I in it? They want to come and eat, and they just enjoy and just be together and be with their friends and be with their family and have a nice time by the water. So we have all that here. So it's easy enough to promote it. So I have an easy job.
You're being modest. I know you coordinate the volunteers. That takes a lot, and then doing this all through COVID. So I wanted to commend Carol and just her hard work, all the stuff she does behind the scenes, to welcome people and put a really, really nice face on Gloucester. Folks usually before the pandemic, from all over the world come, and that's oftentimes their first stop and first experience. So that's been really helpful. But we're happy to answer any questions that you have at this time.
Very good. Thank you, Sal. Thank you, Carol. Questions from the committee? John?
No questions. Thank you, Carol, for everything you do up there. It's great. And everything else around the city you do, where we see you working. And all these grants count, no matter what the dollar figure is. They all join the general running of the city. So thank you.
Councilor Littlebank?
Same here, Carol. Great job.
Thanks, everyone. Back to the vaccine team in the fall. So just gonna go back.
There we go. Double duty. But thank you and thank your volunteers. And I hope that the upgrades and renovations of the visiting welcome center that the DPW did over the past winter and spring have been enjoyed. Our beautiful Stage 4 Park. Good. If there are no other questions, I'll go ahead and move things ahead. No other questions. Let's see. Budget and Finance Committee recommends that the City Council accept under Mass General Law 4453A, a federal grant from the National Park Service passed through the Essex National Heritage Commission for a 2001 Essex Heritage Visitor Center grant for a total of $2,500 for the purpose of supporting activities of the city's Visitor Welcome Center at Stage 4 Park. The grant period is from July 1st, 2021 through June 30th, 2022, and there is no local match. And I so move.
Second.
And if there, we'll go ahead and have a vote. If there are no other questions or concerns, Councilor McCarthy,
Yes.
Councilor Littlebank,
Yes.
Councilor Memhard, yes, the measure passes 3-0. And congratulations, Carol, and keep up the good work, and we'll plan for summer ahead.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sal. The next item on our agenda relates to a memorandum from the Director of Elder Affairs, Elder Services, requesting the acceptance of a number of generous donations totaling in the amount of $361. And there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, over a dozen donations. So they're getting a lot of support at the Elder Affairs in the Rose Baker Center. John, are you covering this, or?
I think you have Elise here.
Elise?
Elise
Oh,
is
yes.
fine.
Yeah, I can speak to that, Councilor Memhard.
Thank you, Elise.
So we.
You certainly can. Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. So we wanted to set up this donations account mechanism. I've been working with Kenny on this solution to the fact that our Friends Support Organization has stated a desire to kind of rein back a little bit of the types of things that they were funding. They decided they had experienced a little bit of mission creep and started to fund some of the things that they never had intended to fund. So we needed some other mechanism for those things that the seniors are now used to being able to get. And the Council on Aging Board kind of voted a couple months ago that they'd really like the senior center to be as much of a fee-free environment, to try to offer a lot of these things without payment to the seniors. So we set this up, and this is the first batch. The next batch that I'm going to be asking you folks all to accept is going to be a little bit more substantial. So I'm excited about that, but we had to get the ball rolling somewhere. I had to laugh when Carol said she felt bad about her 2,500 because I'm sitting here with what, 361. So, but you do have to you have to start somewhere. So, so this funding will help with things like, paying for exercise instruction, special entertainment, musical entertainment, any other kind of entertainment, holiday parties for the seniors, supplies for the art room. We have, just coffee and tea that we offer for free in the morning. We also need to supplement the postage costs for mailing out Coastline News, which is our newsletter that goes out to about 1,000 seniors in their homes. That's really the great way that we communicate with a lot of seniors who don't tend to be regulars here at the senior center. And I'm getting a lot of great feedback on those, how helpful people are finding those newsletters. And then just it kind of incidentals. We have, somebody wants to teach Mahjong. I need to buy a couple Mahjong sets. So, so this will be that. And like I said, in working with Kenny, which has been great, he suggested that I kind of model this after what Adam does for the Veteran Services Office. My understanding is that Adam has a similar donations account, so that when the community wants to express their love and support for veterans, they have an opportunity to do that by writing a check. And so we're trying to mirror that. I have a meeting tomorrow morning with Adam to do a little presentation to the veterans about what we offer here at the Senior Center, and then to sit down with Adam afterwards to talk about some of the finer details of making sure that I mirror his processes and guidelines just as closely as possible.
Excellent. It's wonderful that you're working with the Veterans Affairs that way. That's a good synergy. And with Kenny on the fundraising too.
Yeah.
Other questions from the committee?
No questions, just, it's great. Anything we can do for our seniors is great. I know that senior center is important to a lot of people, and anything we can do to make it more enjoyable, great job. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Councilor McCarthy.
Councilor LeBlanc?
I don't have any questions. Elise and I chatted up a few weeks ago out in front of the supermarket. We had a really good conversation. She's doing some really good things down there. I know change is hard for the seniors. I spoke to a couple seniors and they are thrilled with the things that are going on down there and the things that she is doing. So keep up the good work. And like John said, any little bit helps. And if there's anything we can do as a council, please let us know.
Awesome. Thank you, Councilor LeBlanc.
If there are no other questions, I'll make a motion to proceed. On a motion by myself, is there a second to that? I'm sorry.
Second.
All right. And Budget and Finance recommends that the City Council accept various cash donations under Mass General Law 4453A to support the Council of Aging and the Rose Baker Senior Center, totaling in the amount of $361 from the following dozen members and business partners within our community. And the total again is 361. And I so move.
Second.
All those in favor, Councilor McCarthy,
Yes.
Councilor LeBlanc,
Yes.
Councilor Memhard, yes. The motion passes unanimously, 3-0. Thank you. Well
Great.
done, Lee.
Thank you so much. Everybody have a great night.
You too.
Take care.
I think the next item before us is a review of the debt service that the city is enjoying. John Dunn, is that correct?
Well, I would say, Counselor, that maybe the city doesn't enjoy debt service, but we have debt service.
Those
Actually,
fantastic,
I had a,
those fantastic rates that you continue to negotiate,
Pardon me?
those fantastic rates that you continue to negotiate certainly
Yep,
put us in good
yep.
shape
So-
considering.
So yes, we were very fortunate with the bids that we took a week and a half ago. We're settling up next week. I had been in touch with Councilor Cox to tell her that I was going to ask for a continuance on this presentation so I could layer in the information on the debt service that we are settling on next week. And would like to bring this back before you at your next meeting. And also, you know, to be truthful, primarily, it was Councilor Cox's request to me to bring this forward, so I don't want to be presenting that with this information without her in attendance.
Sounds great. Appreciate that. Makes sense to everyone on the committee?
Yes, I agree. Melissa is the one that brought this up, so I was actually going to suggest that. And I don't know if she's going to be at the next meeting, John, so maybe we put it off for the following meeting. I know she's,
Again, once I update my spreadsheets, these are kind of complicated spreadsheets, so I actually want to get the paper in your hands because you can get lost looking at the stuff on the screen. So, I mean, 2 meetings from now will be perfectly fine.
Okay, Jared will plan to put that on the agenda again for 4 weeks' time. Thank you. Is there any other old business before the committee?
through the chair, just, I don't see anybody from the mayor's office on here, so John, I guess this will just probably more in your wheelhouse anyway, but the continuance of the loan request for the harbor master's boat. I just request that we look at the ordinance there, and the ordinance states that We actually run that through the city's capital improvement advisory board, and maybe we could convene a meeting before you bring it back to us. And I don't think the Waterways Board has even taken this up through their subcommittee, and I think Tony told me it would be in October. And I also would like the city to look into the port security grant for this purchase. I know we had a round of it last year. The tiers changed. Gloucester was eligible. I believe the administration decided that they did not want to apply for anything, and that was back in March. And I believe they opened back up within the next couple months. I know that grant circulates every 12 to 14 months. So it may be behooving of the city to look at that grant. And I know it's a 50% match, but 50% is better than the city paying 100%. So I would just request that we look at those issues, John, if we could. And thank you for the consideration in that.
I would be happy to bring this up to the mayor's office. Not a problem.
Thank you.
Now, John McCarthy's points all resonate with me and make good sense. So I would certainly appreciate that, John Dunn. Thank you.
Yep.
Any other business, old or new?
I'm good.
Okay. Well, wish, well, I'm not going to say that. I was going to speak about our chair, but well, that's
Right.
understood. If there's no other business before the committee this evening, I welcome a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor, roll call vote. John McCarthy,
Yes.
Councilor LeBlanc.
Good job tonight, Scott, and yes.
Well, yeah, getting back in that saddle. Councilor Memhard, yes, indeed. And good night and enjoy the rain. It's not
Night,
done with
everyone.
us.
Yes,
Thank you.
indeed. All right.
Thank you,
Good night,
Scott.
everybody.
Thank you. Take
Good
care.
night.
Night, everybody.
Good night, Sherry. Thank you.